Welcome back to the Deep Dive. It is good to have you here.
Today we are doing something a little different. Usually when we talk about protests or, when you see them on the news or when you're stuck in traffic because of one, the conversation immediately goes to the cause.
Right.
What are they shouting about? Who is angry at whom? Is the sign funny? Is it effective?
Right. We tend to focus on the aesthetics of it, the message, the passion, the chanting. It's viewed as this very visceral, organic, almost romantic expression of democracy.
Yes. People hitting the streets to demand change.
It's very raw.
Exactly. It's the Les Miserables of the world.
But today, we are going to look at the invoice.
And believe me, there is an invoice, and it is significantly higher than you might think.
We have a stack of documents here. And when I say stack, I mean a literal thud-on-the-table stack.
Yeah.
That paints a picture of democracy that looks a lot less like a spontaneous gathering of the people.
And a lot more like a corporate product launch.
Exactly. We are talking about the economics and the logistics of organizing a mass protest in New York City.
It is a fascinating and frankly somewhat sobering look at what it actually takes to exercise your First Amendment rights in the densest city in the country. We are going to deconstruct the financial and administrative barriers to organizing. We are effectively auditing the business of protest.
So if you've ever seen a massive march on the news, 10,000 people shutting down Fifth Avenue and thought, wow, look at all those people just showing up, you are about to have your mind blown.
Yeah.
Because we're going to show you that just showing up is actually a logistical mega project with a balance sheet that rivals a mid-sized company.
We're talking about a burn rate that can hit $250,000 a day.
$250,000 for one day of yelling.
At least. And that's before we even get to the legal settlements or the bail funds. That's just operations.
We have pulled from the official NYC Comprehensive Event Permitting Guide, which is a dense read. Let me tell you, it makes tax code look like a comic book.
It really does.
The NYPD parade regulations, insurance underwriting documents, academic papers on something called the activist's dilemma, and reports on dark money funding.
So we're going to walk you through the process, step by step, from the moment you have the idea to protest to the moment you're paying the cleanup bill.
By the end of this hour, you will understand exactly how much it costs in dollars, paperwork, and liability to dissent in NYC.
Let's do it.
So we'll start at the very beginning. Section 1, the gatekeepers. Let's say I wake up this morning and I am furious. I'm angry about, let's say the price of bagels. It's gotten out of hand.
A worthy cause. The Everything Bagel Inflation Index is real. I'm with you on that one.
Absolutely. So I want to get 10,000 people to march to City Hall to demand a cap on cream cheese prices. Now, the romantic idea is that I tweet out a time and place, everyone shows up, and we march. Can I do that?
You can, in the sense that you physically have the ability to type the tweet. But if you actually do that and 10,000 people show up without paperwork, you are going to be shut down, likely arrested, and hit with fines before you even get to the second block.
Okay.
To do it legally, to do it in a way that doesn't end in mass arrests, you have to enter the permitting labyrinth.
Labyrinth feels like the right word here.
It is. In New York City, organizing an event requires navigating a very specific division of labor between two primary agencies, the NYPD and SAPO.
SAPO. That sounds like a cleaning product.
It does. It stands for the Street Activity Permit Office. They sit under the Mayor's Office of Citywide Event Coordination and Management.
That is a mouthful of a title. So what's the difference? Do I ask the cops or do I ask the mayor?
It depends on physics. Are you moving or are you standing still?
Okay.
The NYPD handles parades, processions, and sound.
Yep.
If you are moving through the streets or if you are making noise, you talk to the police.
Right.
SAPO handles stationary events, street festivals, block parties, farmers markets, and events on pedestrian plazas.
So if I'm marching, it's NYPD. If I'm standing still in a plaza with a sign, it's SAPO.
Generally, yes. But here is the kicker. It's not an equal partnership. It works under something called the CIMS doctrines.
CIMS.
CIMS, Citywide Incident Management System.
Okay, explain CMS to me. It sounds like something from a spy movie. Is this just a fancy way of saying the cops are in charge?
It's basically that. It's actually a direct response to 9/11.
Oh, interesting.
The citywide incident management system was designed to stop agencies from fighting over jurisdiction during a crisis. It establishes a clear chain of command, but for a protest, it creates a specific hierarchy. You might have SAPO, the Street Activity Permit Office, looking at your application for a rally and saying, this looks fine, you have a stage, you have insurance, approved.
Okay.
But CMS layers the NYPD over that decision as the incident commander.
So SAPO is the event planner, but the NYPD is the bouncer.
Exactly. And the bouncer outranks the planner. The text of the doctrine states that in any event with potential for disorder, which is arguably any political protest, the NYPD takes primary agency status.
Which means?
This means they can override SAPO's approval, change your route, move your location, or revoke the permit entirely based on their own internal risk assessment, which you, as a citizen, don't get to see.
So the police effectively decide if the protest against the police or anyone else can happen.
From a safety and logistics standpoint, yes, they hold the veto card.
Wow.
And this brings us to the first major hurdle, the parade permit. Now, if you look at the fee on the application, it seems incredibly accessible. It's only $25.50.
Okay, $25. That sounds surprisingly reasonable. I was expecting you to say $5,000. Are we sure that's right?
That is the filing fee. But don't let the low price tag fool you. It's a loss leader. It gets you in the door so they can hit you with the time tax. The source material highlights something called the 9-month barrier.
9 months, like having a baby.
Exactly. For events with over 1,000 participants, the NYPD advises submitting applications 9 months in advance.
Wait. Let's unpack this. Most protests are reactions to current events, right? Something happens in the news, a law is passed, a war starts, a tragedy occurs, and people want to hit the streets now.
Right.
Not next November.
Precisely. And that is where the system is designed to create friction. If you need 9 months to plan a spontaneous reaction, you effectively ban spontaneous large-scale grassroots reactions.
So it's not a bug, it's a feature.
It absolutely is. Think about the George Floyd protests in 2020, or the reaction to a Supreme Court ruling. Under these guidelines, strictly speaking, those could not have been permitted in time.
So if I want to protest a war that started yesterday, the NYPD tells me, sure, come back in 9 months.
Essentially, yes. Or they might grant an exception, but it's entirely at their discretion. This rule systematically favors institutionalized, well-funded organizations.
Right.
Groups that plan their annual march a year out. It favors the parade, not the protest. It favors the planned event, not the sudden descent. It turns a political expression into a scheduled programming block.
That is a huge structural barrier.
Yeah.
It takes the moment out of the movement.
Completely.
But let's say you navigate that, you get your permit or you get an exception.
Mm-hmm.
Now you want to actually be heard.
Yeah.
You need a megaphone, right? You can't just shout at 10,000 people.
And that requires a sound device permit.
Of course it does. Another form.
Another form and another fee, $45 per day.
Okay.
But here's a little bureaucratic nugget I found fascinating, and it tells you everything about how this system is built to be annoying.
Oh, I'm ready.
You can only pay this $45 fee by certified check or money order.
Stop it.
No cash, no personal checks, no credit cards.
You're kidding me. That feels deliberate. Who has a certified check just lying around? I don't even know where my checkbook is, let alone a certified one.
I know.
You have to go to the bank, wait in line, pay a fee for the check itself.
It adds friction. It ensures that you have to be really, really committed to getting that megaphone. It filters out the casual organizer.
Wow.
And the permit comes with strings attached. There are quiet zones.
Quiet zones.
Yeah.
Like a library?
Similar, you cannot get a permit for amplified sound within 500 feet of a school, a courthouse, a hospital, or a church while they are in session.
A courthouse. But isn't that where people usually want to protest?
Mm-hmm.
No justice, no peace, usually requires standing in front of the place where justice is administered.
You can stand there. You just can't use a megaphone.
And 500 feet in Manhattan is, that's everywhere.
And I challenge you to stand anywhere in Manhattan and not be within 500 feet of a school, church, or courthouse. The map is so checkered with restricted zones that finding a compliant route where you can actually speak is a geometry puzzle.
So they aren't banning speech, they're just making it impossible to hear it.
Correct. And then there's the curfew. Strict prohibition on amplified sound between 10 p.m. and 9 a.m.
Okay.
In residential areas, it cuts off at 8 p.m.
So what does this all mean? It means the city isn't saying you can't speak. They're controlling the volume, the location, and the timing.
Exactly. They are limiting where and when a message can be heard, not just if it can be heard. It manages the disruption. It turns a riot into a scheduled appointment.
Okay, so we've got our permits. We've waited 9 months, or begged for an exception. We have our certified check for the megaphone. Now we need a place to do this. We talked about streets, but what if we want a stage? Our rally point, a big visual moment.
Welcome to Section 2, the venue menu. This is one of the most surprising parts of the research for me. We tend to think of public spaces, courthouses, borough halls, steps of huge buildings as, well, public.
A public square. It belongs to the people, right?
Theoretically, but administratively. They are rental venues, and they have a price list, just like a banquet hall or a wedding venue.
You kidding? I can rent the Supreme Court steps.
You have to rent them if you want to hold an event there. Let's look at the event space rental fees from the NYC Permitting Guide. Let's say you want to hold a rally at the Surrogates Court at 31 Chambers Street. Beautiful building, very imposing, great columns.
Great backdrop for the evening news. Looks very official.
For a private entity, the rental fee is $12,200.
$12,000.
Yeah.
To stand outside a public building.
Per day. And even if you are a nonprofit doing the Lord's work, saving the whales, the fee is still $10,200.
That is a lot of bake sales. That's a used car.
It gets better. How about the Supreme Court at 60 Center Street? Those iconic steps, law and order vibes. Everyone wants to rally there when a big decision drops.
Sure. That's the spot.
$8,300 for private, $7,500 for nonprofit.
Go.
Tweed Courthouse, $8,500. Queensboro Hall, up to $12,500.
Right, so let me get this straight. If you want to protest a decision made by the Supreme Court at the Supreme Court, you effectively have to write a check to the court system for $7,500.
Essentially, yes. You are funding the institution you are protesting against, just for the privilege of standing on their doorstep.
That is perverse.
And those are just the base fees. There are hidden surcharges everywhere. It's like buying an airline ticket.
Of course there are. Like what, respiration fee?
Close. Setup and teardown fees. If you need the space before or after the actual event hours to set up your stage or your sound system, which you definitely do for a major rally, that is a daily surcharge.
How much?
$1,000 for private companies or $500 for nonprofits. Plus, a refundable security deposit ranging from $1,500 to $3,000.
And what about SAP, the street activity people? If I just want to take over a plaza.
For what they call an extra-large street event, the fees can go up to $66,000.
$66,000.
Plaza events can cost up to $31,000 depending on the size and the level of the plaza.
That's a salary. That's a luxury car. That is the cost of closing a street for a protest.
It highlights the pay-to-play aspect of high-visibility locations. If you are a small grassroots group with zero budget, you are pushed to the margins, literally.
Right.
You go to a park where the fees are lower, or a sidewalk. If you are a massive, well-funded organization, you get the center stage. The public square is actually a tiered rental market.
This is staggering. It completely dismantles the idea that public space is free, but we haven't even hit the scariest cost yet.
No, we have not.
Section 3, the invisible wall, insurance.
This is the hurdle that stops most organizers dead in their tracks. It's the boring stuff that kills the revolution.
Oh.
Most permits, SAPO, DCS, DOT, require general liability insurance.
I mean, that makes sense for a carnival ride or a farmer's market where someone might get food poisoning, but for a march?
For almost anything involving a crowd, the standard requirement is usually $1 million per occurrence.
$1 million.
But for D-size buildings like those courthouses we just mentioned, it bumps up to $2 million per occurrence and $4 million aggregate.
$2 million in coverage. That sounds extensive to buy.
It is, and you have to sign an indemnification agreement, basically a hold harmless clause. The organizer takes full financial responsibility. If someone slips on a banana peel, or if a fight breaks out and property is damaged, the organizer pays, not the city.
But here's the catch, right? I imagine calling up an insurance broker, State Farm, Geico, whoever, and saying, "Hi, I'd like to insure a massive, angry political protest where people might get rowdy."
Yeah.
How does that conversation go?
Not well. They usually hang up on you. The source material discusses something called the activist exclusion.
The activist exclusion, that sounds ominous.
It is. Major insurance carriers frequently exclude political and activist events from their standard policies. They view it as high risk. There's a high perceived amount of property damage, injury, or riots. It's written into the underwriting guidelines.
So you can't just get a standard event policy like you would for a wedding.
No. You are in a high-risk pool. If you mention the word protest on the application, you get flagged.
Wow.
Some carriers now have specific endorsements that void coverage if the event is advertised as a protest rather than a gathering.
Get out.
It's all in the vocabulary. If you call it a peace march, you might get coverage. If you call it a protest against X, the algorithm rejects you.
So the vocabulary you use triggers a financial firewall.
Exactly. When coverage is found, it is expensive. For an event with around 12,000 attendees, premiums can exceed $4,000 for a single day.
$4,000, okay.
But that's if you can find a rate table. For events over 10,000 people, standard rate tables often disappear entirely. You enter the world of custom underwriting.
Which is code for we can charge you whatever we want.
Pretty much. And there is a reason the city is so strict about this. The legal risks are massive. We aren't just talking about broken windows. We are talking about mass arrests and civil rights lawsuits.
Right.
Lawyers for mass demonstration participants in NYC have secured settlements as high as $10 million for unlawful arrests in the past.
$10 million.
Yes. When the NYPD kettles a crowd or uses excessive force, the city gets sued, and the city loses millions. So they push the liability onto the organizers as much as possible.
Of course.
They want that insurance binder to be airtight so that you are the one holding the bag, not the taxpayer.
So let's recap. We've paid the permit fees, $25.50 plus the $10,000 rental fee. We've navigated the 9-month wait. We've bought the insurance policy, $4,000 plus.
Yeah.
We're easily 20 or 30 grand in the hole, and we haven't even hired security yet.
Which brings us to Section 4, the operational burn. And this is where the costs go from bureaucratic to astronomical.
We need to talk about the physical safety of these events. Because if I'm organizing a march with 10,000 people, I'm worried about counter-protesters, I'm worried about bad actors, I'm worried about things spiraling out of control.
Of course.
My instinct is, the police are there. They will handle it.
And that is a fatal error in your planning. The NYPD is present to enforce the law and protect the city's infrastructure. They are not your personal bodyguards.
Okay.
In fact, legally, they often have no duty to protect specific individuals in the crowd. If you have a VIP speaker, say a celebrity or a politician, or if you just want to ensure your own organizers don't get jumped, you have to hire private muscle.
Private muscle. We're talking security guards.
We are talking about a very specific tier of security that has exploded in demand recently. The industry calls it the Luigi effect.
Okay, I saw this in the notes. This is referencing the United Healthcare CEO, right? The shooting.
Brian Thompson. Tragic case. But look at the aftermath from a security perspective. He was killed in a public space outside a hotel by a gunman who allegedly was waiting for him.
Right.
The suspect, Luigi Mangione, became this viral figure. But inside corporate boardrooms and activist organizations, it sent a shockwave. It destroyed the illusion that being in public was safe.
So suddenly, every CEO and high-profile activist felt like a target.
Precisely. And when demand spikes, prices spike. We aren't talking about a guy in a yellow windbreaker checking tickets. We are talking about executive protection agents.
These are serious people.
These are retired Secret Service, retired NYPD Emergency Service Unit guys. They carrying sealed firearms. They know extraction routes.
And what does a retired Secret Service agent charge to stand next to me at a rally?
The source material puts the current rate at roughly $250 per hour per agent.
$250 for 1 hour.
For one agent. And you don't just hire one agent. That's useless. You need a team. You need a diamond formation or a perimeter.
Okay.
Let's do the math on a standard protest package. You need a 10-man team to secure the stage and the VIP tent.
Okay, 10 guys. $250 an hour. That's $2,500 an hour right there.
Oh, wait. You need them for the setup, the event, and the teardown. And you need overnight security for the equipment. So you are looking at a 24-hour cycle.
Yeah.
You can't work one guy for 24 hours. You need shifts. So now your headcount triples.
This is escalating fast. So we're looking at, what, $20,000 for a day?
Easily $25,000 to $30,000 per day just for the personnel. And that doesn't include the hard costs, the black SUVs, the magnetometers, those metal detector wands, the earpieces.
It's practically a military operation.
It is. And this brings us back to the central theme, access. If you are a grassroots group of college students angry about climate change, do you have $30,000 a day to ensure your speaker doesn't get attacked?
No, of course not.
No. So you take the risk. If you are a corporate-backed lobby group, you write the check. Safety becomes a luxury good.
That is a chilling thought. Safety is a luxury good. But we aren't done with the invoice.
Not even close.
We have people, we have security. What about the mess?
Sanitation. DSNY, Department of Sanitation, classifies events as billable or non-billable, but for anything large, they generate cost reports. They recommend cleanup fees of $275 to $375 for high occupancy events to ensure the street is swept. If you leave a mess, you get fined.
And infrastructure, the stage, the sound.
You need a sound system that can reach 10,000 people. That's a massive rental line arrays, subwoofers, plus the massive generators to power them because you can't plug into a street lamp, plus the permits from the Department of Buildings for the staging. If it's over a certain size, that's another few thousand easily.
And finally, the people. How do you get 10,000 people to show up? You can't just rely on word of mouth anymore. Algorithms bury organic content.
Digital recruitment. This is a huge line item. The sources estimate spending $50,000 to $100,000 on targeted ads to get that kind of turnout.
50 to 100 grand on Facebook ads.
Yep. They calculate a cost per activist of about $5 to $10.
Cost per activist. That is a dystopian metric. So
Yeah.
you are paying $10 a head just to get them to the street.
It's customer acquisition cost applied to democracy.
Okay. So let's synthesize this. We took all these numbers: permits, venue rental, insurance, security, recruitment, legal compliance.
Don't forget legal. You better have a lawyer on retainer for $10 just in case of arrests.
Right. So add it all up. A single day of a mass protest in Manhattan.
I've crunched the numbers based on the source data.
What's the damage?
The estimate ranges from $179,844 to $245,844.
$250,000 for one day. That changes everything. It means that to have a voice at that scale, you need to be rich, or you need a backer.
It completely reframes the concept of people power. It's funded power.
But here's the question. Does spending that money actually work? Section 5. The ROI of protest. We're spending $200, Kay. Are we changing minds, or are we just lighting money on fire?
This is where it gets really interesting and a little counterintuitive. We have a study here on the activist's dilemma.
The dilemma being?
The dilemma is that to get attention, you often have to do something extreme.
Right. Block traffic.
Blocking traffic, disrupting daily life, throwing soup on a painting. If you stand quietly on the sidewalk, the news ignores you, so you escalate to get coverage.
Makes sense.
But the study found that extreme actions cause a loss of popular support, even among those already sympathetic to the cause.
Really? So if I agree with your cause, say climate change, but you block my commute to work, I start to turn on you.
Yes. The data is clear. People see you as the problem, not the issue you're protesting. The experiment showed that extreme anti-Trump protests, for example, actually increased willingness to support Trump among observers.
It backfires.
It's a backlash effect. People perceive the disruption as immoral or harmful, and they disconnect from the message.
So you spend $200 to block traffic, you get on the news, but you end up creating more voters for the other side. That is a terrible ROI.
It's a paradox. You need the disruption to get the camera, but the disruption alienates the viewer.
Wow.
And then there is the police budget paradox.
Oh, I remember this from the notes. This is about the 2020 protests. Defund the police was the slogan.
Right. Massive historic protests, millions of dollars in invoice costs for the organizers. And the outcome.
What had it?
Instead of decreasing, police budgets largely increased following the protests due to political backlash. One source, quote, was brutal. Cops come out ahead every single time.
Because the chaos creates a demand for order.
Exactly. When people see chaos on TV, they don't vote for less police, they vote for more. The protests effectively funded its own opposition.
And it's not just budgets. The legislative costs are rising too. There are new laws regarding critical infrastructure.
Yeah, this is a big one.
What does that mean?
In the U.S. and Canada, new laws designate pipelines, transport hubs, and railways as critical infrastructure. Protesting near these now carries extreme fines.
Like what?
We're talking fines designed to financially incapacitate activists. If you are a young person or an indigenous group with less capital, a $50,000 fine ends your activism forever. You are bankrupt.
It's economic warfare.
It is. It's making the price of dissent so high that only the wealthy can afford the ticket.
Which leads us perfectly to Section 6. The funding engine. Because if regular people can't afford this, who is picking up the check? If a protest costs $200 K, we aren't passing a hat around for that.
No. This is where dark money enters the chat. We need to distinguish between 501c organizations and 501c4 organizations.
Quick refresher for the listener.
A 501c are charitable organizations. Your donations are tax deductible, but there are strict limits on political activity. They can't tell you who to vote for.
Got it.
501c4 are social welfare organizations. They can lobby, they can advocate, and crucially, they don't always have to disclose their donors.
Hence dark money.
Right. And this isn't a left or right thing, it's a systemic thing. It happens on both sides. On the left, you have networks like Arabella Advisors.
Arabella. I've heard that name.
They are massive. They manage funds like the 1630 Fund and the New Venture Fund. We are talking about raising nearly $140 million in a single year.
Wow.
But here is the mechanism that fascinated me. Fiscal sponsorship.
How does that work?
It's like a Russian nesting doll. You have a massive entity like Arabella Advisors.
Okay.
They aren't the activist group. They are the management firm. They manage a 501c3 called the New Venture Fund. This fund then acts as a fiscal sponsor for dozens of smaller, fake-sounding groups.
What do you mean fake-sounding?
Well, say you want to start Citizens for Bagel Safety. You don't have a bank account. You don't have tax status. You go to the New Venture Fund. They let you use their tax status. You become a project of theirs.
Ah.
The money comes from a donor, goes to New Venture Fund, which is this generic bucket, and then flows to Citizens for Bagel Safety. On paper, the donor gave to the fund, not the bagel group. The trail is washed.
So if I look at who paid for the bagel protests, I just see New Venture Fund, not the billionaire behind it.
Exactly. It's a privacy shield for donors. And on the right, you have groups like the American Action Network, chaired by former Senator Norm Coleman. They spend millions on advocacy.
Same playbook.
Same playbook. Or the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, representing 3 million businesses, hiding donor names while influencing policy.
So when you see a protest, it might look grassroots, hand-painted signs, young people, but the root system goes deep into these massive funding pools.
It's astroturfing, artificial grassroots, and spending isn't just on the street, it's on the screen.
Right.
Political ad spending jumped nearly 30% in 2024 compared to 2020. The new frontier is CTV-connected TV, Hulu, Roku.
Oh, I see these all the time. I'm trying to watch a show, and I get hit with a hyper-targeted political ad.
That's where the money's going. It allows for hyper-targeting of voters and activists. It's much more efficient than a billboard. You can target people who live in a specific zip code and watch specific shows.
Speaking of screens, let's talk about Section 7, media and culture. Because influence isn't just about ads and marches. It's about stories.
This is the Hollywood connection. If you really want to shift culture, you don't just hold a rally, you make a movie. Look at Higher Ground Productions.
The Obama's production company.
Exactly. Their deal with Netflix isn't just about entertainment. It's soft power. It's cultural engineering.
How so?
Look at their projects. The G Word, which explains how government works. Crip Camp, which is a brilliant documentary about disability rights activism.
Right.
Exit West, about migration.
These are beautifully produced, entertaining films, but they're also shaping the narrative.
The source material calls this the industrialization of narrative control.
That's a great phrase.
It's moving from street chants to high-production streaming content. It's a much more sophisticated and expensive way to shift public opinion. It validates the issues in a way a protest sign never could.
Yeah.
If Netflix makes a documentary about your cause, you have won the culture war.
But again, the barrier to entry there is astronomical. You need a Netflix deal. You can't just print flyers at Kinko's.
Precisely. It reinforces the idea that effective dissent is becoming the domain of the elite.
So we have covered a lot of ground today. We traced the journey from a spontaneous idea
to a permitted, insured, secured, and funded operation.
And the invoice is hefty. $245,000 for a day.
A hefty invoice.
It seems like the bureaucratic takeaway here is that the system is designed to facilitate managed dissent.
That is the key phrase, managed dissent. If you give 9 months notice, pay your fees, get your insurance, and stay in the designated zone, you are allowed to speak.
The system can handle that.
The system can digest that. It can handle a parade. But disruptive dissent, spontaneous reaction, that is penalized with fines, denied permits, and legal risks.
It feels like the city is saying, you can be angry, but please be angry during business hours with a permit and fully insured.
And please make sure your check is certified.
It really makes you question the concept of the public square. We grow up thinking the streets belong to us. But if the cost of entry for a safe, legal, effective mass demonstration in NYC is $250,000 in a year of planning, is it actually public?
Or is it just another rental venue for the well-funded? That is the question. The public square is increasingly a VIP section.
Something to think about the next time you see a march on TV. Don't just look at the signs, look at the barricades, look at the sound system, and ask yourself, who paid the invoice?
Indeed. Follow the money.
Thank you for listening to this deep dive. We hope you look at the streets of New York a little differently now.
Stay curious.
We'll see you next time.